The stars looked different through the observation window of the eternal dawn. 5-year-old Han Mirai pressed her small hands against the cold glass, watching the colorful clouds of space drift by like paint in water. Her mother, Dr. Han Soo-jin, worked at a nearby console, studying readings from the plant samples they had collected from the last world they visited. Her father hummed quietly while organizing specimen containers. Mirai loved the ship. It was the only home she remembered. 300 people lived here, traveling to new worlds looking for places where humans could build colonies. Her parents were botanists, scientists who studied alien plants. They taught Mirai about different flowers and trees from Earth, even though she had never seen Earth herself. She was born on this ship among the stars. The alarm started without warning. Red lights flooded the corridors and a loud siren made Mirai cover her ears. Her mother grabbed her hand, pulling her away from the window. Her father's face went pale as he looked at his screen. "Vrakneth," he whispered. "They found us." Mirai did not know what that word meant, but she heard the fear in his voice. Her mother lifted her and ran toward the escape pod bay. All around them, people were screaming and running. The ship shook violently, throwing them against the walls. Mirai started crying, holding tight to her mother's neck. The Vrakneth were creatures from nightmares. Through the windows, Mirai saw their ships, black and angular like the shells of beetles. They moved fast, surrounding the eternal dawn like wolves around prey. The human ship fired back, but the weapons seemed small and useless against the swarm. In the escape pod bay, chaos ruled. Families pushed toward the small vessels, desperate to leave the dying ship. Mirai's father helped them into Pod 17. He strapped Mirai into a seat, his hands shaking. Her mother kissed her forehead, tears running down her face. "Be brave, my star," her mother said. "We'll be right behind you." But they were not right behind her. As the pod door began to close, another explosion rocked the ship. The floor tilted and Mirai's parents slid backward away from the pod. Her father screamed for them to wait, but the automatic systems did not wait. The door sealed shut. Through the small window, Mirai saw her mother reaching for her, saw her father trying to run back, but then the pod launched. The force pushed Mirai back into her seat. She could not breathe, could not think. The pod spun through space, and through the window she saw the eternal dawn breaking apart. Fire bloomed from its side like terrible flowers. Other pods scattered in every direction, tiny seeds blown from a dying plant. Then something hit her pod. A piece of debris, maybe, or a stray shot from the battle. The pod's engine sputtered and died. The emergency systems flickered. Mirai floated in her straps, weightless and terrified, as her pod tumbled toward a planet below. The planet was dark and red, covered in jagged mountains and deep valleys. The pod shook violently as it entered the atmosphere. Mirai screamed, but no one could hear her. Fire surrounded the pod as it fell faster and faster. Then everything went black. When Mirai woke up, she was lying in darkness. Her head hurt and her body felt heavy. She unbuckled her straps and fell to the floor of the pod. The door had been torn open, twisted metal pointing at a cave ceiling above her. Cool air, smelling like stone and something else, something alive, drifted into the pod. She climbed out carefully, her small shoes crunching on the rocky ground. The cave was massive, stretching far beyond what she could see. Strange lights glowed from fungus on the walls, giving everything a green color. Water dripped somewhere in the distance, echoing through the space. Then she heard the clicking. It started soft, like someone tapping stones together. Then it grew louder, coming from multiple directions. Shadows moved along the cave walls, huge shadows with too many legs. Mirai backed against her pod, too scared to scream. They emerged from the darkness like living nightmares. The creatures were taller than any human, standing on 4 powerful legs with 2 more limbs that ended in claws. Their bodies were covered in hard, shiny plates that looked like black armor. Multiple eyes gleamed in the dim light, and their mouths had mandibles that clicked and clattered. These were the Vrakneth. Mirai trembled as they surrounded her pod, examining it with their clawed hands. One of them reached toward her, and she finally found her voice and screamed. The creature pulled back, its head tilting as if confused. It made a series of clicks and whistles. The others responded, creating a chorus of alien sounds. One Vrakneth pushed forward, larger than the rest. Its armor was darker, almost purple-black, and it wore what looked like decorations made from bones and metal. This was Vek, though Mirai did not know its name yet. Vek bent down, bringing its enormous head close to her. She could see her reflection in its many eyes. Vek clicked softly, almost gently. Then it did something unexpected. It opened its clawed hand and placed it on the ground, palm up, waiting. Mirai did not understand at first. The creature waited patiently, not moving, just clicking quietly. Finally, she realized it wanted her to touch its hand. With shaking fingers, Mirai reached out and placed her tiny hand on the Vrakneth's massive claw. The surface was smooth and warm, not cold like she expected. Vek made a sound like a rumbling purr, then slowly lifted Mirai up. She sat in its palm, higher than she had ever been, looking down at the other creatures below. They walked deeper into the cave system, Vek carrying her carefully. Mirai saw more Vrakneth working in the tunnels, moving with purpose. They carved new passages, tended to strange glowing plants, and guarded entrances. This was not just a cave. This was their home, their nest. Finally, they entered a massive chamber. At its center, on a platform of smooth stone, sat the largest Vrakneth Mirai had ever seen. This creature was enormous, easily 3 times the size of Vek. Its armor was ancient and scarred from countless battles. This was Shaxakira, the Brood Queen, though Mirai would not learn this name for years. Vek approached the queen and placed Mirai on the ground before her. The queen leaned down, her massive head descending until she was level with the small human child. Mirai looked into those alien eyes and saw intelligence there, cold and calculating but intelligent. Shaxakira made a series of complex clicks and whistles. The other Vrakneth responded with sounds of confusion and disagreement. Some clicked aggressively, their claws scraping the stone floor. They were arguing about her, Mirai realized. Some wanted to kill her. She was food or a pest or an enemy. But Shaxakira clicked again, louder this time, and all the others went silent. The queen reached out with one massive claw and gently touched Mirai's face. The child flinched but did not run. There was nowhere to run. The queen made a softer sound, almost curious, then turned to Vek and clicked an order. Vek picked Mirai up again and carried her to a smaller chamber off the main hall. Inside were soft materials piled in a corner, probably bedding for young Vrakneth. Vek placed her there gently, then brought her strange food, fungi and some kind of meat. Mirai was too scared to eat at first, but hunger eventually won. That night, alone in an alien nest surrounded by monsters, Mirai cried for her parents. She cried for the ship, for her home, for everything she had lost. But when she finally fell asleep, exhausted from tears, Vek stood guard at the entrance to her chamber, protecting the small human child from any threat. This was how Han Mirai's new life began, in a nest of monsters far from any human who might save her. 15 years changed everything. The small, frightened child who had crashed on Carthex Prime was gone. In her place stood Han Mirai, 20 years old, lean and strong, her body covered in scars that told stories of survival. She stood at the edge of the trial pits, watching the dark arena below where warriors went to prove themselves or die trying. The Vrakneth called her Pak Mirai now, the soft-skinned hunter. She had earned the name through blood and determination. While she could never match the Vrakneth in strength or armor, she had learned to be faster, smarter, and more persistent than any of them expected. She fought with weapons they found strange. Nets, traps, ranged weapons that kept her away from crushing claws. She ran when they charged, striking when they tired. Human endurance was her greatest weapon. Vek stood beside her, now her mentor and closest thing to a parent. The warrior had raised her, taught her, protected her when other Vrakneth questioned why a human should live among them. Today, Vek's mandibles clicked with concern. The trial pits were dangerous even for fully grown Vrakneth warriors. Many entered. Not all left. You do not have to do this. Vek clicked in the Vrakneth language. Mirai understood perfectly now. Though her mouth could not make all the sounds, she used a combination of clicks, whistles, and human words that the Vrakneth had learned to understand. Yes, I do, Mirai replied. The other broods question my place here. They say humans are weak, that I am only alive because Shaxakira allows it. If I do not prove myself, they will never accept me. Vek's claws twitched, a sign of frustration. Let them question. You have proven yourself 100 times. But Mirai shook her head. She had made her decision. In Vrakneth culture, the trial pits were the final test of a warrior. She would enter the arena and face whatever challenges the Brood Queen sent. If she survived, she would be recognized as a true warrior of the brood. If she died, well, at least she would die as a warrior and not a pet. The horn sounded deep and resonating through the massive cavern. All the Vraknath warriors gathered around the pit, clicking and chittering with excitement. They wanted to see the human fail. They wanted to see her broken. Only a few, including Vec and some of the warriors she had trained with, clicked encouragement. Shaxx Kira herself attended, her massive form dominating the highest platform. The Brood Queen had grown older, her armor more scarred, but her presence was still absolute. She raised one claw and silence fell. Then she pointed down at the pit and the trial began. Mirai descended into the arena on a rope, landing in soft sand. The pit was circular, about 50 meters across, with high walls that prevented escape. Bones littered the sand, reminders of previous failures. She carried her weapons, a spear, a net, several throwing blades, and a coil of rope. Not traditional Vraknath weapons, but tools that worked for her human body. The first gate opened with a grinding sound. What emerged made the crowd roar with excitement. A Calvax, one of the native predators of Carthex Prime, stalked into the arena. It looked like a massive lizard with 6 legs and a mouthful of teeth designed to crush armor. It was hungry and angry. Mirai did not run toward it like a Vraknath warrior would. Instead, she ran along the edge of the pit, forcing the Calvax to chase her. The creature was fast, but not as fast as a human at full sprint. She led it in circles, making it angrier, making it careless. The crowd clicked with confusion. What was the human doing? Where was the honor in running? But Mirai was not running away. She was studying her enemy, watching how it moved, looking for weaknesses. She saw it. The Calvax favored its left side, probably an old injury. When it turned left, it was slower by a fraction of a second. On her third circle, Mirai suddenly stopped and threw her net. It spread wide and tangled around the Calvax's front legs. The creature stumbled, roaring in fury. Before it could recover, Mirai hurled her spear with all her strength. The weapon struck the Calvax's eye, driving deep. The creature thrashed, then went still. The crowd went silent for a moment, then erupted in mixed reactions. Some clicked with approval at the clever kill. Others chittered with disgust at the dishonorable tactics. Mirai ignored them all, pulling her spear free and preparing for the next challenge. The second gate opened. This time 3 Vraknath warriors entered the pit. They were not from her brood, but from rival queens, sent to test the human who claimed to be a warrior. They were bigger, stronger, and covered in protective armor. They formed a triangle around her, clicking with anticipation. This was different. The Calvax was an animal operating on instinct. These were intelligent fighters who knew tactics and teamwork. Mirai could not trick them the same way. She would have to fight smarter. They attacked together, coordinated and deadly. Mirai dodged the first strike, rolled under the second, and used her rope to trip the third. But they were too fast, too strong. A claw caught her shoulder, tearing flesh. Another strike hit her leg, knocking her down. Pain exploded through her body. The crowd roared. The human was failing. This was expected. This was natural. Soft skins could not stand against Vraknath warriors, but Mirai had something they did not. The ability to sweat, to cool her body, to keep fighting when others would overheat. She had learned this about humans during her years on Carthex Prime. Vraknath were powerful but tired quickly in extended combat. Humans were built for endurance, for outlasting prey over long distances. So she did not try to match their strength. She kept moving, kept dodging, kept making them work for every strike. She used the arena itself as a weapon, kicking sand into eyes, throwing bones to create obstacles, always staying just out of reach. Minutes passed. The Vraknath warriors began to slow, their movements less precise. Their armor, so protective, became a burden in the heat of combat. When the first warrior stumbled from exhaustion, Mirai struck. Her blade found the gap between armor plates at the neck. The warrior fell. The other 2 charged with rage, but they were tired now. Mirai's human stamina gave her the advantage. She fought with renewed energy, her movements sharp while theirs grew sluggish. The second warrior fell to her spear. The third, seeing his companions defeated, hesitated. In that moment of doubt, Mirai disarmed him and held her blade to his throat. She could kill him. The crowd expected it, but instead she clicked in Vraknath, "Yield, warrior." "You fought with honor." The warrior, surprised, clicked his submission. Mirai released him and he limped from the arena. The crowd's response was thunderous now, a mixture of approval and shock. The human had not only won but shown mercy, a concept rare in the trial pits. Shaxx Kira rose from her platform. Her voice, amplified by the cavern, clicked across the arena. "Pak Mirai has proven herself. From this moment she is Cal Mirai, Blade Mirai, warrior of my brood. Let any who challenge this face me. No one challenged. The trial was complete. As Mirai climbed from the pit, bloody and exhausted, Vec met her at the top. The old warrior's mandibles clicked with pride. You fought well, little one. Mirai smiled, then collapsed into Vec's arms. She had proven herself, yes, but at great cost. As Vec carried her to the healing chambers, Mirai looked up at the cavern ceiling and thought about her parents, about the eternal dawn, about the human girl she used to be. That girl was gone forever, replaced by Cal Mirai, a warrior who belonged to two worlds and fully to neither. The human fleet appeared in Vrakneth space like ghosts from Mirai's forgotten past. She was hunting in the outer canyons with her warpack when the signals came, ships, dozens of them, broadcasting in a language she had not heard in 15 years. Korean, English, human languages that stirred something deep in her memory. Admiral Kang, Daehyun commanded the expeditionary fleet from his flagship, the Indomitable. His mission was simple: map Vrakneth territories, assess their military strength, and if possible, establish communication. The Terran coalition needed to know if the Vrakneth were a threat to human expansion. What he did not expect was to find a human living among them. The first encounter was violent. Mirai's warpack ambushed a human scouting party that had landed on Carthex Prime. The fight was quick and brutal. Vrakneth warriors overwhelmed the humans with superior numbers and ferocity. But then Mirai heard one of the humans screaming in Korean, calling for help, and something broke inside her. "Stop!" she shouted, the Korean word feeling strange on her tongue after so many years. The Vrakneth hesitated, confused by her command. The human stared at her in shock, seeing a woman in Vrakneth armor covered in alien markings speaking their language. Before anyone could react, a human soldier raised his weapon and fired. The shot hit Mirai in the side, spinning her around. Vec roared with rage and charged, but Mirai clicked an order even as she fell. No killing. Capture only. The warpack obeyed, disarming the humans and taking them prisoner. But the damage was done. The humans had fired first. The fragile moment of recognition was broken by blood and fear. Mirai woke in the healing chambers, her wound treated with Vrakneth medicine. Vec stood nearby, clicking with anger. The soft-skins shot you. Let me kill them. No, Mirai said, switching between Korean and Vrakneth words. They are my people. They did not understand. Your people abandoned you, Vec clicked harshly. We are your people now. The words hurt because they were partly true. But Mirai could not forget the faces of those humans, their fear and confusion when they saw her. She could not forget the sound of her native language. Part of her buried deep, still remembered being Han Mirai, daughter of botanists, child of the eternal dawn. Admiral Kang came to the nest himself to negotiate for his people's release. It was a brave move and a foolish one. He entered Shaxkira's throne chamber with only 2 guards, facing hundreds of Vrakneth warriors who could tear him apart in seconds. But he stood straight and spoke clearly through his translator device. I am Admiral Kang Daehyun of the Terran Coalition. I come to negotiate for my people and to speak with the human woman who lives among you. Shaxkira clicked with amusement. The soft-skinned leader has courage. Speak then. Mirai entered the chamber and Kang's eyes widened. She looked nothing like the humans on his ship. Her body was lean and hard, marked with Vrakneth symbols. Her eyes were cold and calculating, but her face was unmistakably human. You are Han Mirai, Kang said, not asking but stating, lost from the eternal dawn 15 years ago. Your parents searched for you until they died. They never gave up hope. The words struck Mirai like a physical blow. Her parents had searched for her. They had not abandoned her. They had died hoping she was alive somewhere. Tears filled her eyes, the first she had shed in years. I am Cal Mirai now, she said in broken Korean, the language rusty from disuse. I am a warrior of the brood. You are human, Kang insisted. You belong with your people, not with these creatures. Vec clicked a warning and other warriors shifted, ready to attack if their adopted daughter was insulted. Mirai raised a hand, stopping them. These creatures raised me when I had nothing. They taught me to survive. They gave me purpose. Do not speak of them as if they are less than us. Kang saw the danger and changed tactics. Then help me understand them. Help us avoid war. We do not want to fight the Vrakneth, but we will if we must protect human colonies. That was how Mirai became a bridge between 2 species. She negotiated the release of Kang's people and convinced Shak-Sakira to allow limited human presence in Vrakneth space. It was a fragile peace built on mutual wariness, but it held. One of the released humans was Yunjiwu, a xenobiologist who had studied Vrakneth behavior from captured video and scattered reports. Meeting Mirai was the opportunity of his career. He spent hours talking with her, learning about Vrakneth culture, their honor codes, their complex social structures. They are not mindless monsters, Jiwoo told Kang after one meeting. They are warriors with strict rules and deep loyalty. And she, Mirai, she understands both worlds. She is invaluable. But not everyone saw value in Mirai. Within the Vrakneth broods, rival queens viewed her as a threat. A human with the favor of Shak-Sakira, commanding warriors holding influence, it was unnatural. When the brood queen fell ill, poisoned by a rival's agent, the political structure began to collapse. Mirai found Shak-Sakira convulsing in her chambers, foam dripping from her mandibles. The old queen's guards stood helpless, not knowing how to treat poison. But Mirai had learned medicine from both Vrakneth healers, and from reading human medical texts that Jiwoo had shared. She mixed treatments from both worlds, forcing them down Shak-Sakira's throat. For 3 days, the queen hovered between life and death. During that time, 3 rival queens declared their intention to claim Shak-Sakira's brood if she died. Thralix, Krevsha, and Nexara each commanded powerful forces and ancient lineages. They prepared for war, but Shak-Sakira survived, weakened but alive. When she woke, she clicked a decree that shocked the entire brood. Kalmarai saved my life. By ancient law, she has earned the right to challenge for succession. Mirai stared at the queen in disbelief. I cannot lead the brood. I am human. You are a warrior, Shak-Sakira clicked firmly. You have proven yourself in the trial pits. You saved your queen's life. The law is clear. If you do not challenge, my brood will be divided among the rivals. Everything you have known will be destroyed. Mirai looked at Vek, at the other warriors she had trained with, at the nest that had been her home for 15 years. She thought about the rival queens, particularly Thralix, who hated humans, and would slaughter any who entered her territory. If Mirai did not fight, the fragile peace with the human fleet would shatter. I will challenge, she said. The challenge of queens took place in the Crucible, an ancient arena carved from solid rock. The rules were simple: single combat against each queen's champion, then against the queens themselves if their champions fell. Only one could emerge as the new ruler of the brood. The first champion fell quickly. Mirai had learned to fight smart, using speed and tactics to overcome strength. The second champion was more difficult, a veteran warrior with countless battles scarred into her armor. But Mirai's human endurance won again, outlasting the champion until exhaustion made her vulnerable. The third champion was Vek. The old warrior entered the arena, and Mirai's heart broke. Why? She clicked. Queen Nexara ordered it, Vek replied. I must obey. But I will not apologize for what I taught you. Use it well. They fought, and it was the hardest battle of Mirai's life. Vek knew all her tricks, all her weaknesses. But Vek also loved her and could not strike with full force. In the end, Mirai won, but she refused to deliver a killing blow. She stood over Vek and clicked loudly. This warrior yielded with honor. The fight is done. The crowd erupted in confusion. Showing mercy to a champion was unprecedented, but it also showed strength. Only the truly powerful could afford mercy. The rival queens conferred, then clicked their submission. They would not fight a human who had defeated 3 champions and shown the wisdom to spare a loyal warrior. Shak-Sakira rose and placed her claw on Mirai's head. I name you Beast-Empress, ruler of this brood, bridge between the soft-skins and the true warriors. Let any who challenge you face the full might of my legacy. Mirai stood in the center of the crucible, covered in blood and exhaustion, and accepted the title she never wanted but would now carry forever. News of the Beast-Empress spread across the galaxy like wildfire. A human ruling a Vrakneth brood, it seemed impossible, unnatural, dangerous. The reaction from the Terran coalition was immediate and divided. Politicians argued in council chambers, military leaders debated strategies, and citizens watched in fear and fascination. General Park Sun-ho stood before the coalition council, his uniform decorated with medals from a dozen campaigns. This woman is a traitor to humanity, he declared, his voice filled with conviction. She commands our greatest enemy. She has turned against her own species. We must eliminate her before she leads the Vrakneth against us. Admiral Kang Daehyun rose to counter. Beast-Empress Mirai has shown no hostility toward humanity. In fact, she has prevented several attacks on our survey teams. She is a bridge, not a threat. A bridge built on corpses, Sunho shot back. How many humans died in Vrakneth raids before she took power? How many colonies have been destroyed? Now she controls thousands of warriors. What happens when she decides humanity is the enemy? The council voted, and the result was narrow but clear. The Terran coalition would not recognize Mirai's authority. Any military action against human interests would be met with force. General Sunho received authorization to prepare a preemptive strike if necessary. Yoon Ji-woo, who had returned to the fleet, argued passionately against the decision. "You are making a mistake," he told Admiral Kang. "Mirai is trying to change Vrakneth culture from within. She is teaching them to see humans as potential allies, not prey. If we attack her, we will prove that humans cannot be trusted." But Kang's hands were tied. He was a soldier, bound by orders. "I hope you are right about her," he told Ji-woo. "But if I receive the command to strike, I will obey." Meanwhile, in the Vrakneth nests, Mirai faced her own rebellion. Many broods refused to accept a human empress. The traditionalists, led by the wounded but vengeful Queen Thralix, formed the Chitin Purity Legion. They believed that Vrakneth's strength came from racial purity, from the ancient ways, from rejecting all soft-skin influence. Thralix sent messages to other queens across Vrakneth space. "The human corrupts us," she clicked in broadcasts that reached hundreds of nests. "She teaches weakness, mercy, cooperation with prey species. She will destroy everything our ancestors built. Join me and we will purge this stain from our honor." Dozens of broods joined the Legion. They were smaller broods, traditionalist factions, warriors who feared change. But together they numbered in the thousands. They began attacking Mirai's allied broods, hitting supply lines, destroying communication relays, spreading chaos. Mirai stood in her command chamber, reviewing reports of the attacks. Vec, now her primary military advisor, clicked with frustration. "We must strike back hard. Show them the cost of rebellion." "That is what they want," Mirai replied. "If we respond with brutality, more broods will see us as weak or desperate. We need to be smarter." She began recruiting human advisors to help her understand strategy beyond Vrakneth tradition. She studied human military history, learning about insurgencies and counterinsurgencies, about hearts and minds. It was strange using human knowledge against Vrakneth enemies, but it worked. Her forces began intercepting rebel supply lines, disrupting their communication, isolating their leaders. But then everything changed. A human strike force led by General Sunho's ships attacked a Vrakneth mining colony on the edge of Mirai's territory. The assault was brutal and sudden. Human marines hit the colony from orbit, killing workers and warriors indiscriminately. When Mirai's forces arrived, they found only bodies and burned buildings. The Vrakneth Council of Queens demanded blood. "The soft-skins attack us while you negotiate peace," they clicked at Mirai. "Perhaps the Purity Legion is right. Perhaps humans cannot be trusted." Mirai struggled to maintain order. "This was not authorized by the coalition," she argued. This was one general acting without orders. But even she did not fully believe it. She contacted Admiral Kang, demanding answers. The admiral looked tired and conflicted on the video screen. General Sunho acted without direct authorization from the council, but many support his actions. "They see your rise as a threat. I am trying to hold back a full war, but I do not know how long I can." "Then stop trying," Mirai said bitterly. "Pick a side, Admiral. Are you with me or against me?" Before Kang could answer, new intelligence arrived. Yoon Ji-woo, working through his network of contacts, discovered something shocking. General Sunho had been in secret communication with Queen Thralix. They were coordinating their attacks, each using the other to justify their aggression. Sunho wanted a war to prove his military worth and secure more power. Thralix wanted to discredit Mirai and restore traditional Vrakneth dominance. "They are using each other," Ji-woo explained, showing Mirai the intercepted messages. "They are creating a war that benefits neither humans nor Vrakneth, only themselves." Mirai realized the scope of the conspiracy. Sunho and Thralix were not alone. Each had supporters, officers, and warriors who profited from conflict, who feared peace more than war. They had created a situation where both sides felt threatened, where moderate voices were drowned out by calls for vengeance. The conspiracy exploded into open war at the Battle of Kelthara Nebula. General Sun Ho's fleet engaged Mirai's forces in the nebulous clouds, where sensors were unreliable and combat was chaotic. But during the battle, Thralix's rebel Vrakneth attacked both sides, creating confusion and maximizing casualties. Admiral Kang's flagship, the Indomitable, was hit by rebel Vrakneth forces and began to drift, its engines damaged. Sun Ho's forces withdrew, leaving Kang to die, claiming the admiral had been too soft on the enemy. But Mirai saw what happened and made a choice. All ships break off attack, she ordered. Priority rescue on the human flagship. Her commanders clicked with confusion. But Empress, the human ship, is helpless. We could destroy it. No, Mirai said firmly. We save them. Admiral Kang is not our enemy. Sun Ho and Thralix are. Mirai personally led a boarding party to the Indomitable. They cut through the damaged hull and found Kang on the bridge, wounded but alive. The admiral looked at her in shock. Why save us? Because I am tired of being used, Mirai replied. Sun Ho wants us to fight so he can claim military glory. Thralix wants us to fight so she can say I am a traitor to the Vrakneth, but we are not their pawns. Help me, Admiral. Help me expose them. Kang struggled to stand, supported by his officers. What do you need? Your testimony. Your evidence. Everything you have on Sun Ho's unauthorized actions. I have evidence of Thralix's collaboration. Together, we can show both our peoples that they are being manipulated. As Vrakneth warriors and human marines work together to repair the Indomitable, Yunjiwoo compiled all the evidence into a comprehensive package. Intercepted messages between Sun Ho and Thralix, records of unauthorized attacks, testimony from soldiers on both sides who had witnessed the conspiracy. They broadcast it all, sending the information to every human colony and every Vrakneth nest simultaneously. The truth spread faster than either Sun Ho or Thralix could suppress it. People saw the messages, saw the coordination, saw how they had been manipulated into hating each other. The response was immediate. In human space, the Coalition Council called for Sun Ho's arrest. His own officers, disgusted by his betrayal, began to refuse his orders. In Vrakneth territory, even traditional queens clicked with disgust at Thralix's dealings with a human. The honor code forbade such deception. But Sun Ho and Thralix were not finished. Cornered and desperate, they combined their remaining forces for one final attack. They would strike at both the Terran Coalition's primary base and the Vrakneth throne world simultaneously. If they could not have power, they would have destruction. The war was not over. It was just beginning. The throne world of the Vrakneth had never seen such a gathering. Queens from across the empire arrived with their broods, filling the massive caverns with clicking mandibles and armored bodies. They came to witness the signing of the Covenant of Fang and Fire, the first formal alliance between humans and Vrakneth. It was supposed to be a day of peace, a new beginning, but General Sun Ho and Queen Thralix had other plans. Their combined forces struck from orbit just as the ceremony was beginning. Human warships dropped from faster-than-light travel, their weapons already firing. Vrakneth rebel ships, stolen and modified, attacked from the opposite direction. The throne world's defenses scrambled to respond, but the attack was coordinated and overwhelming. Mirai stood in the Great Hall, surrounded by queens and human diplomats when the first explosions shook the cavern. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ancient stone cracked. Alarms began screaming warnings. Admiral Kang grabbed his communicator. All ships, defensive positions. Protect the throne world. But many of his ships were scattered, unprepared for a surprise attack. Sun Ho had timed it perfectly, hitting when the fleet was divided and vulnerable. Mirai's mind raced. They had walked into a trap, but it was also an opportunity. Sun Ho and Thralix had committed their forces to this attack. If they could be defeated here, the rebellion would collapse. But first they had to survive. All warriors to defense positions, Mirai clicked loudly, her voice carrying through the cavern. Protect the queens and the human delegates. This is what they want, to divide us through fear. We will not give them that satisfaction. Vrakneth warriors and human marines who had been eyeing each other warily moments before suddenly found themselves fighting side by side. Rebel Vrakneth forces breached the outer defenses and poured into the tunnels. They were met by a mixed force of Mirai's warriors and Kang's soldiers, fighting together for the first time in history. Above the planet, the space battle was brutal. Sun Ho's ships had better weapons, but Kang's forces had the advantage of knowing they were defending something important. Vraknath rebel vessels were fast and deadly, but loyal broods launched from hidden bases, attacking the rebels from unexpected angles. Yunjiwu worked frantically with Vraknath technicians to get the Throne World's ancient defense systems online. The weapons were old but powerful, built when the Vraknath fought among themselves centuries ago. He managed to activate 3 of the massive plasma cannons, which began firing at rebel ships. "Got them," Jiwu shouted, watching a rebel cruiser explode on his screen. But there were too many enemies. For every ship they destroyed, 2 more appeared. They needed a miracle. The miracle came in the form of reinforcements. Ships began appearing across the battle space, not just human or Vraknath, but both. Moderate queens who had been watching from a distance decided they had seen enough. Human colony defense forces, acting without orders, jumped in to support their admiral. Even some of Sunho's own ships defected, their captains refusing to fire on human colonies. But the real battle was happening on the ground. Mirai led a strike force through the ruined tunnels toward the throne chamber, where rebel forces were trying to reach Shakskira. The old queen was too weak to fight, still recovering from her poisoning. If the rebels killed her, the traditional succession laws would be thrown into chaos. Vek fought at Mirai's side, the old warrior moving with practiced efficiency. Human marines provided covering fire while Vraknath warriors smashed through rebel lines. It was strange and beautiful, 2 species working as one. They reached the throne chamber to find it already under attack. Rebel warriors surrounded Shakskira, weapons raised. But before they could strike, Mirai burst through the entrance, her war pack behind her. "Stand down," she ordered in both Vraknath and human languages. "Your leader has betrayed you. Thralix works with a human traitor. She has violated every honor code we hold sacred." The rebels hesitated. Some clicked with confusion. They had been told they were fighting to preserve Vraknath purity, but working with humans like Sunho, that was unthinkable. Then Thralix herself entered the chamber and the moment of doubt vanished. The rebel queen was massive and scarred, a veteran of countless battles. She clicked with rage at seeing Mirai. "You are the corruption," she declared. "A soft skin pretending to be one of us. I will kill you and restore true Vraknath rule." They fought in the throne chamber while the battle raged around them. Thralix was stronger, more experienced, covered in armor that had survived wars Mirai could not imagine. But Mirai had learned from every fight, every loss, every victory. She was fast where Thralix was strong, creative where the queen was traditional. The fight seemed endless. Mirai was bleeding from multiple wounds, her armor cracked. Thralix's mandibles were broken, one of her legs injured, but neither would yield. Around them, humans and Vraknath watched. The fighting paused as everyone focused on this single combat that would determine the future. Finally, Mirai saw her opening. Thralix, exhausted and enraged, made a reckless charge. Mirai dodged and struck, her blade finding the gap between armor plates at the queen's throat. Thralix stumbled, her weapon falling from her claws. The chamber went silent. Mirai stood over the fallen queen, her blade ready for the killing blow. Every Vraknath tradition demanded death. Every warrior code said that defeated enemies must be eliminated. The rebel warriors waited to see their queen die, but Mirai lowered her blade. "No," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Thralix, you fought with honor even if your cause was wrong. I will not kill you. Instead, I offer you exile. Leave Vraknath space and never return. Take your followers who still wish to follow you. Live out your days knowing that mercy defeated hatred." The shock rippled through the watching crowd. Vraknath clicked with confusion and amazement. Humans whispered in disbelief. This was not how wars ended. This was not how enemies were treated. But Shakskira, watching from her throne, clicked with deep satisfaction. "This is why she is Empress," the old queen declared. "True strength is knowing when not to kill. True power is offering mercy to those who deserve death. Let all witness. The Beast-Empress has proven herself wiser than any pureblood queen." Thralix, defeated and humiliated, clicked her submission and withdrew from the chamber. Many of her warriors followed, but others laid down their weapons and pledged loyalty to Mirai. They had seen something new, a leader who valued life over death, unity over purity. Above the planet, General Sunho watched his carefully planned attack collapse. His ships were surrounded, his allies defeated or defecting. When his own officers arrested him on the bridge, he did not resist. He had gambled everything and lost. The battle ended not with a final explosion, but with a gradual silence. Ships stopped firing. Warriors lowered their weapons. The throne world's caverns fell quiet except for the sound of the wounded being tended. Admiral Kang met Mirai in the ruined Great Hall. Both were covered in dust and blood, exhausted beyond measure. "We survived," he said simply. "We did more than survive," Mirai replied. "We proved it is possible. Humans and Vrakneth working together." The covenant of Fang and Fire was signed 3 days later, after the dead were honored and the wounded healed. This time there was no attack. Queens and human officials signed the document together, establishing the first interspecies government in known history. The covenant was simple but powerful. Humans and Vrakneth would maintain separate governments but coordinate on defense, trade, and diplomacy. Border worlds would be jointly administered. Both species would teach their young about each other, breaking down the walls of fear and hatred. Mirai was recognized as Beast-Empress by the Vrakneth and as Ambassador Empress by the Terran Coalition. She established a new capital on a neutral world, building a city where both species could live and work together. It was not easy. There were fights and misunderstandings, but slowly, impossibly, it worked. Admiral Kang became the first human to receive a Vrakneth warrior title. Yoon Jiwoo founded the Interspecies Academy, training diplomats and scholars from both civilizations. Former enemies became colleagues, then friends. 20 years passed. Mirai stood on the balcony of her palace, now in her 40s, watching the sunrise over a city that should not exist. Below, human children played with young Vrakneth, their laughter mixing with clicking mandibles. Markets sold goods from both worlds. Libraries contained books in multiple languages. She thought about her parents often, about the eternal dawn, about the frightened child she had been. That child had died in the crash, but something new had been born. Someone who belonged to two worlds and could unite them. Beck approached, now ancient and moving slowly. The old warrior clicked softly. "You did well, little one." "Better than any of us imagined." "We did well," Mirai corrected. "All of us together." Later that day, she visited the memorial for the eternal dawn. Names were carved in stone, including her parents. She placed flowers there, human flowers grown in Vrakneth soil, a symbol of what had been created. As the sun set, painting the sky in colors both species found beautiful, Mirai whispered in both languages, "I am the bridge. I am the peace. I am Kal Mirai, daughter of two worlds." And in the city below, two species that had been enemies learned to live as neighbors, proof that even the deepest divides could be crossed with courage, wisdom, and hope.